Namaste, Ajay Bhai. How are you doing? I can't hear you. Your sound is gone. Ajay Bhai, can you hear me? I don't have your sound. No sound, no sound. Folks, as usual, we have, this is a live show, so we don't edit. So you will have some glitches here and there occasionally. I can't hear you still. No sound, Ajay Bhai. Let me know when you have said something. And Can you hear me, Ajay bhai? So my co-host Ajay Shah is having some troubles with the sound system from his sound system. So we are going to proceed with our show today. And this is a fascinating show, friends, because most of you are very active with trying to figure out what's happening at our campuses with dozens of American universities supposedly co-sponsoring an event titled Dismantling Global Hindutva. And if you see the graphics of it, it is pretty dire and directly targets Hindu communities that express themselves. And so we are going to look at some of the people who are behind this and who they actually are. And some of these people you may know a little bit about, and some of the things we will be discussing you may not have seen before. So this will be a fascinating show because you will be able to see a few things that will be new for you. So as we go forward in the show today, and we also have a special guest, we will be talking to him about his experience in dealing with these issues in American campuses from a non Indian subcontinent perspective, because as Americans, this is not the first time this is happening. So, this will be a great show, folks. And as Ajay Bhai fixes his glitches with the sound system, we will be going forward. Now, if you look at some of the players, I'm just going to dive in because we have very little time, and you know we have a lot to share with you this week. If you see the people who are co-sponsoring these events, I'm going to just show a screen of some of the campuses. Princeton is one of them. Syracuse, Emory, Harvard, University of Toronto. So there's a whole Cornell. There's a whole plethora of top universities in America that are hosting this uh, anti-Hindu, actually to some extent even anti-India event. And this list includes some very interesting names. At the same time, it also includes some names that you may not have heard before. For example, in the screen that you see Columbia University, you see Boston College, Concordia has actually taken, no, actually Dalhousie University has disowned the event, and a few more have disowned in the last couple of days. But in between, you see this organization called the Polis Project. And I don't know how many of you have heard of this group before. Maybe we should do a poll about it, Ajay Bhai, if our listeners had heard about this organization called the Polis Project. And as we go forward today, we will discuss the role of this very little known group that emerged in around mid 2015, 2016 period. Uh,
So,
and the role it is playing in these anti-Hindu activities in American campuses. So keep that in mind. Police Project is one of the groups we will look at. Ajay, are you saying something? I don't see
yeah,
your
can you hear
camera.
me now? Can you
Yes, I
hear me
can hear
now?
you. You can switch your camera on. And
That's yet a problem to be solved, but good. But so that thank you for carrying forward while I was still fixing it. Maybe people cannot see me, but as long as they can hear me, we are all good. So keep going.
so, yeah, Ajay, I'm going to keep for carrying forward and look at some of these players. Okay.
Yeah, Utsada, it is kind of, I thank you for carrying it forward. And it's actually a fascinating list. And this list has only, even though, I mean, you should mention that, even though there are new, they started out with about 45 universities. About six of the universities have withdrawn the sponsorship. But now, if you go to their website, they seem to have added 15 more universities. But you know what the fascinating thing, Utsada, is that they do not want to say who is actually at the university who is sponsoring this event. They are hiding behind that. And that to me, so that is somewhat interesting that if they are if they want to be upfront and honest about what is going on, wouldn't they want to put the name out?
No, because this is a subversive event. So you have to understand, this event is a cloak and dagger event that is primarily aimed at spreading Hindu phobia, and especially against Hindus who identify strongly as Hindus and present themselves as Hindu. You know, that's the thing. They don't want Hindus to exist. So anybody who has a Hindu name but is not really calling themselves Hindu, doesn't talk about the issues concerning Hindus or the discriminations faced by Hindus, they're okay with. They want everybody to be there at that level, and if possible, switch them to becoming pro-Islamist or pro extreme left. But they have a problem with people who identify as Hindus, who present themselves as Hindus, because that's their hindrance. That's the people who they want to erase. And when I say they, we will be looking into these organizers of the event. So we let's start with Polis project, because I'm pretty sure people who are listening to this today, very few of them have heard of the Polis project. And as we go forward, you will see what role Polis project is playing. So next is basically the founder of the Polis project, named Suchitra Vijayan. And again, not a very prominent place. People are looking at Anand Patwardhan and Audrey Trushki, and some of the names very popular in social media, very anti-Hindu, always baiting Hindus, often with very, very abusive and historically incorrect approaches, historically incorrect information, so that they can get a rise out of Hindus. That's the Audrey Trushkis and the Anand Patwardhans and some of the other more popular people. The less known people here are the main drivers here. So Suchitra Vijayan she's a lawyer, co-founder of the Polis project. This was set up in 2016. Interestingly enough, she attended the 12th International quote-unquote peace conference on Jammu and Kashmir, organized by the Pakistani spy Ghulam Nabi Fai. This is where it starts.
And we should mention that he was actually convicted spy, and not alleged spy, but he actually spent a
Yeah,
couple
he
of
spent
years
two
in
years.
prison
He
for
spent
that.
2 years in a Maryland prison as a
Correct.
convicted spy for Pakistan, uh, Ghulam Nabi Fai, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people. So Suchitra Vijayan started off in 2015 attending his events, being a participant and a presenter there. She obviously supports separatists and terrorists in Kashmir. She is like for the freedom of Kashmir from India, and she has been a frequent appearance as a speaker on the portal called Stand with Kashmir. Interestingly, again, a proxy group that was set out of uh, another group that is connected to the Hizbul Mujahideen terror organization. So, Jamaat-e-Islami, which is the civilian organization behind Hizbul Mujahideen, spun off an online version of anti-India social media platform called Stand with Kashmir. And Suchitra Vijayan, who is one of the main mover and shaker of this anti-Hindu campus activism, is one of the speakers there, and continues to be one of the speakers at Stand with Kashmir events. Uh, she's also connected to some of the other players that are somewhat slightly more well-known, but you may have not heard about them, and I'll be talking about some of them today. Arundhati Rai, you all know, she's the pro extreme left, pro Maoist, Maoist terrorist author, very famous, actually a pretty good author too. But being a good writer has nothing to do with supporting terrorism. So I can draw the line in between and separate the two. Um, Arjun Sethi, we'll get into that when we talk about Khalistan on another day. Uh, Athar Zia, Mona Bhan. Athar Zia is a very pro-separatist Kashmiri activist as well. Again, in American academia, has been working on promoting Kashmiri Islamists, pro-terrorist and pro-separatist for a long period of time. Nitasha Kaul and Hafsa Kanjwal. We are going to look at Hafsa Kanjwal today because she's another, along with Ghulam Nabi Fai and the ISI connection, she's another important player who is behind Suchitra Vijayan and some of the other people who are part of this anti-Hindu, dismantle Hindutva campaign being run in campuses. So Hafsa Kanjwal, keep that name in mind.
So that this is a pretty interesting part, right? That you have you would normally you would not associate people who are on the extreme left, like Marxist-Leninists, or in Indian context, they would be called Naxalites or Maoist, and these people, you would not associate them with the fundamentalist Islamists, right? And it is very interesting that when Hindus are the target, these two groups who would normally not get along are united. And this is not the first time. I know that in other countries also this kind of things are happening, but this is fascinating because this is a common cause that they have found. Because if you really look at it, in countries where Islam is the state religion, Communist Party has been completely wiped off. I mean, there used to be a communist movement in Pakistan, which doesn't exist today. There was a communist movement in Afghanistan, which doesn't exist today. And but if you go to a country which is non-Islamic, whether you go to United States or you go to European countries, you go to India, there is a communist movement there. So it is
So there's the
fascinating
irony
that,
of the whole situation here, Rajat bhai. This is the irony.
yeah,
In
yeah,
communist countries, Islamists don't exist. They are not allowed to exist. In Islamist countries, these extreme leftists are not allowed to exist. So in each other's domains, both the Islamists and the extreme left kill each other off. They don't allow the other to exist. In democracies like India, like America, like Western countries, some of the Western
correct,
countries, both of them exist and work with each other.
and work with each
and,
other.
and
Exactly.
specifically in the case of India, in this particular case, specifically in the case of American Hindus, what you are seeing here, and this chart, this is a reference material that I have picked out from a very fascinating 108 page report that came out just a few weeks ago at a portal called Disinfo Lab. And it's all very well substantiated. I would urge people to go and look at that Disinfo Lab report.
So then maybe you can make it, if possible, you can make the screen a little bigger. I don't know if it's possible, so people can see the screen. But because this connection is worth looking at for everyone, because these are the kinds of connections that people don't make. In fact, the connection that you just made with Suchitra, and connecting Suchitra with, on one hand, the Islamists, on the other hand, the Maoists or the Naxalites or Leninists. That connection is really fascinating, and you'd spent a lot of time with Soda in putting together these disparate sources into a single coherent source, which is
Well,
why we said that this is the information
thankfully,
that has
Rajat
never
bhai,
been revealed before. So let's
thankfully,
go
Rajat
to
bhai, we
continue.
have always looked at this. We have always understood and known some of these players. I mean,
Right,
Ghulam Nabi Fai's connection with ISI is very well known. Anybody
correct.
who's on social media, the role of West Coast millionaire Tony Ashai and his connection to Imran Khan is very well known. Hafsa Kanjwal's role with Stand with Kashmir and its connection to Hizbul Mujahideen and Pakistani state is very well known. But what is not that well known, and this is why I believe that information like those provided by Disinfo Lab is very important for the Hindu community to understand, because a tremendous amount of research probably has gone into this for years, because you just have to look at the information. And you see here Suchitra Vijayan and Kavita Krishnan. If you are one of those people following the anti-Hindu events in the campuses, one of the main speakers there is Kavita Krishnan, avowed Marxist-Leninist, supporter of Maoist terrorists from India. And we will go into Kavita Krishnan soon. But you see in this list that ISI and Ghulam Nabi Fai and Stand with Kashmir Troika spins out Suchitra Vijayan. Go back to the Polis project, one of the main co-hosts of this event, who is the founder of Polis project, and spins out Kavita Krishnan. And as we go forward, I'll add more people in that list. You will see how many of these people are actually 1 degree of separation away from Pakistani establishment and state actors. Just wait and watch. Next, we go to this another one of the speakers there called Muhammad Junaid. And I don't know whether it was intentional or whether it was whether it was a mistake by the organizers of the Dismantle Hindutva people who wrote his name with 2 M's, Muhammad Junaid. I believe that it was to mask his identity and his social media footprint, because then if you just look at Muhammad Junaid, you find a lot about this individual. He's a professor. But Mohammad Junaid is connected to an individual called Huma Dar, who is a lecturer of UC Berkeley and an adjunct professor at the California College of Art. She is a vitriolic Hindu hater. She has created a whole platform in UC Berkeley promoting direct conversion to Islam. So she basically does dawa, uh, and asking people that Hindus don't deserve to exist. She's literally on record doing that in many of the campus events, and she equates Hindus to Brahminism, which is the go-to narrative for many Hindu haters. You basically pick a smaller entity and then just throw them all under the bus. So Humadar's
And
father
she's
was
a
a
daughter of a Pakistani general.
she's a daughter of a Pakistani
She's just
military
carrying out
general.
her father's work, right?
Yeah, Pakistani army officer. She pretends to be a Kashmiri, even though she is actually the daughter of a retired Pakistani army officer. She presents herself in all these Kashmiri events. Again, going back to the list, we have Pakistan Islamic Stand with Kashmir, Huma Dar, expert speaker, pretending to be a Kashmiri, daughter of a Pakistani military officer. Moreover, Lieutenant Colonel Mia Muhammad Yusuf Khan was her sister's father-in-law was also in the Pakistani army and has actually played a significant role in anti-India activism. Mia Muhammad Yusuf Khan and
Including the Khalistani agenda.
Dar actually herself shows up in Khalistani events. So what Dar does, Huma Dar does it that she presents herself as this Kashmiri who is an expert on Hindu atrocities and Hindu, basically anything that can be proved, presented as bad against Hindus. So she's not going to be talking about geopolitics, terrorism. She doesn't. She's a social. She presents herself as a social scientist, and she will show up in any event that talks bad about Hindus and Hindutva. Obviously, she shows up also at Khalistani events. So that's the connection of Mohammad Junaid. Mohammad Junaid works with Huma Dar. Another person that Mohammad Junaid, the speaker at the Dismantling Hindutva event, works with is Hafsa Kanjwal. And Hafsa Kanjwal is the daughter of Yusuf Kanjwal, who is assistant professor of South Asian history at Lafayette College. Interestingly, Hafta is also one of the spokesperson of Stand with Kashmir. Again, you'll see the troika here: Stand with Kashmir, Ghulam Nabi Fai, and Pakistani ISI. So what Hafsa Kanjwal has done is that Hafsa Kanjwal shows up at different places, including events hosted by Council for American Islamic Relations, and actually speaks about separation of Kashmir and support for terrorists. Again, you can see the connection here. So Hafsa Kanjwal is a colleague of Mohammad Junaid. And if you are wondering, how can I say that Mohammad Junaid actually works with these people? Here is some evidence. There are tons of it on social media. So these guys actually don't even hide it. They all show up together at the same events. Mohammad Junaid, Hafsa Kanjwal, Mona Bhan, Atarzia. Okay. You just see where they show up. They show up in all these events together as speakers, talking against India. Again, Haley Dachinsky, she was one of the speakers on behalf of the Kashmiri separatists at the Capitol Hill hearing 2 years ago. So Haley Dachinsky's promotion of an event, Hafsa Kanjwal, and Mohammad Junaid. So you'll see that this pattern is emerging, where you see that in the garb of anti-Hindutva, you have primarily a group of Kashmiri separatists who promote terrorism in Kashmir, who promote Pakistan's agenda in Kashmir, are showing up as speakers. So, you can see what Hindutva actually stands for. Hindutva is probably the only thing that bothers them, because that stands between them actually winning and taking away Kashmir from India. So food for thought for people in India who actually think Hindutva is not that good. Again, we'll go back.
I want to take a commercial. Hold on, Sada. I want to take a commercial break. Uh, there's some echo at your end. So a quick commercial break. We don't do commercial, but I want to just mention to everyone who is watching, and there are quite a few people watching today, that we do have Hindu PAC Gala this evening. And I would urge everyone, it's a fascinating program. We will have a lot of really interesting topics, including a panel discussion on how Hindu Dharma is all inclusive and how Hindu Dharma is under attack. in America, how the BAPS mandirs are under attack. We are also going to talk about some of the other issues that are important to Hindus, including the human rights issues. We are going to talk about our new project called Chingari. So please join. Here is the URL. It's just simple. It's tinyurl.com/HinduPAC Gala AUG 2021, or just go to hindupac.org, click on the register button when you see the Hindu PAC Gala. Please sign on, and we really, really hope you can make it today. It is at 7 p.m. Eastern, Hindu PAC Gala. There's also a really fascinating dance performance, which is Bharatnatyam performance that is performed on Bhagavad Gita. So the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita performed as as a Bharatnatyam dance. And with that, Utsada, back to you. Sorry, I had to interrupt because we have this important event today, and I hope everyone who's watching in the morning joins us again in the evening. On to you, good Soda. Continue this really, really great, fascinating research and analysis. Thank you so much for doing this. This is excellent.
Well, I didn't have to do much. That's what I was saying, that we all have known things, bits and pieces of this over the years. Those of us who have been involved in trying to save the voice of the Hindu community in America, and the viciousness with which we have been attacked over the past couple of years. But I would actually thank people at this Info Lab who have actually put together many of this research. And so let me track back again and recap. So far we have seen that the Dismantle Hindutva event actually is driven by a bunch of individuals and groups that have very, very dubious connections, including to those of the Pakistani establishment and convicted Pakistani spies. We have so far covered Suchitra, Vijayan, and Polis project, one of the key organizers of this event. So Kavita Krishnan, we are getting there, and we have covered Muhammad Junaid, who works very, very closely with Huma Dar and Hafsa Kanjwal, both connected to Stand with Kashmir, which is connected as part of a troika to Pakistan's ISI. Now, we go forward here, and we covered up to the point where Muhammad Junaid is co-hosting events with Hafsa Kanjwal and Huma Dar. Both are strong Hinduphobes. Now we go to the extreme left angle that is present in this, and you can see where the connection goes. The extreme left, which is represented by Kavita Krishnan and Nandini Sundar. Kavita Krishnan is already one of the speakers at Stand with Kashmir. Okay, so she's a bridge. She's a spokesperson for Communist Party of India, Marxist-Leninist. She presents herself in TV shows in India as somebody who supports Communist Party of India, Marxist-Leninist. This is the track record of Communist Party of India, Marxist-Leninist. This is a terror organization based on violent Marxism. They have since 1969 killed thousands of people. Imagine this. An American professor, for example, who is part of an organization responsible for killing thousands of people, actually getting a platform in an American campus. Imagine that ever happening. But here you go, Kavita Krishnan, who actually speaks on behalf of CPI-ML, a Maoist group, is now actually getting a platform in American campus. So interestingly enough, she's not just a supporter of CPI-ML and Maoists, but she's also very vocal on Kashmir. There you see the connection with Stand with Kashmir, with Ghulam Nabi Fai, and of course people behind Ghulam Nabi Fai. She was involved in the Free Kurram campaign and is signatory to the open society, the civil society thing that happens in India, where you can have gray areas of pro-terrorism, urban Naxals melding with the mainstream population. The signatories include Arundhati Roy.
So that you have to explain the word that you use, because a lot of people may not know what is urban Naxal.
Okay, urban Naxal is a term that is now getting very popular in India. It means urban individuals, intellectuals, sometimes academics in campuses that have a plausible deniability when it comes to directly connecting them with acts of terrorism committed by the Maoists that kill people. They have some level of, but they are vocal supporters of these terrorists. They are vocal enablers of these terrorists. And they go on TV channels and justify them by calling, as famously Arundhati Roy had once said, Gandhians with guns. People butchering poor people in Indian villages, blowing up buses and schools, and Arundhati Rai calls them Gandhians with guns. So that's what's called, typically called in popular parlance, urban Naxals. So coming back to Kavita Krishnan, she's mentioned in the go-to list of the Kashmiri experts from Stand with Kashmir, and shares platform with Huma Dar, another Pakistani connection, and Gautam Navlakha. Now, Gautam Navlakha is actually in an Indian jail for his connection with both ISI as well as with extreme left violent groups that were involved in trying to commit an act of terrorism in India and attempting to actually kill the Prime Minister of India. So they are actually facing court cases, and he's in jail. So you can see here, Kavita Krishnan is one of the signatories to the document that tries to free Khurram, that ran the Free Khurram campaign. She's also a key influencer and a scholar who supported Peter Frederick. That's another name you guys should be thinking about. Peter Frederick, 6 months ago, ran article after article after article against anybody in American politics who was ever a Hindu. Tulsi Gabbard, any Hindu, both parties, he would run a campaign against them and try to deplatform them. So again, connected to Bhajan Singh Bhinder, ISI Khalistani, who faced investigation for trying to import a Stinger missile in India to shoot down aircraft in the 1990s. Remember, in the 1980s, Khalistanis had shot down a Air India plane that killed more than 300 people, many of them Canadians. So serious threats. So Kavita Krishnan, you can see the intersectionality here. I mean, speaking of intersectionality in American campuses, you see Maoist groups, violent Maoist groups, responsible for killing thousands of people in India over the past 2 decades. You see the Kashmiri separatist groups and Jamaat-e-Islami proxies, including Hizbul Mujahideen, and you see American academia, some members in the American academia. All three of them overlapping openly, actually. They see all this information that I'm providing you about Kavita Krishnan, about Huma Dar, about Hafsa Kanjwal, about Muhammad Junaid. It's all online. You just have to dig it up. And, thankfully, other people have done it for you. So you just have to go and check it and see how authentic they are. And I challenge you to prove the authenticity of these things. They are very well referenced. These guys are so overconfident, and they have so much confidence in their ability to subvert democracies, and they are so blatant because of the way they get support from media, social media, that they do many of these things blatantly. Had any Hindutva person ever been in this situation, they would be deplatformed overnight. You won't even see their Twitter account the next day. But this is the irony of the whole situation. You have terrorists and their supporters actually getting platforms in campuses in America. So Kavita Krishnan, she's actually in go-between between the other Maoist supporters that you will see, that we will be talking about, some of them, if time permits today, and the Kashmiri separatist Stand with Kashmir, Ghulam Nabi Fai ISI network that exists in the US. So she's the bridge, just like previously, Suchitra Vijayan was the bridge between the Maoist activists in America and the Islamists in America. So similarly, Kavita Krishnan is the bridge between the Maoist activists in India and the Islamists and Pakistani proxies in America. Now that Gautam Navlakha is in jail, he was previously that one. He was previously the link. Now you go to see actually what communists have done. And, this is a data sheet I got from South Asia Terrorism Portal that documents through crawling of media reports how many people have been killed every year at the hands of the Maoists, people Kavita Krishnan supports. I don't know you can see this or not, but on an average, every year, between 280 to 1,080 people have been killed, in that range. Every year. The lowest has been in the year 2000, in the year 2020. The lowest number, thanks to Modi. The least number of people have been killed by the Maoists, which is 239. And the maximum number of people have been killed by the Maoists in the year 2009 which was the previous Manmohan Singh government. That was 1,013. And this includes people who are security forces, civilians, significant number of them, and of course, the Maoists themselves. Which in this particular case, I need to point out that many of the Maoists are actually very poor farmers and poor laborers in remotest tribals, in remotest areas of India. They get brainwashed and instigated by people like Kavita Krishnan and Nandini Sundar. I will get to her in the next part of this conversation. We are going to run out of time soon. We have a guest that I hope will join us.
Okay, we will put our guest, who is going to add to what we are talking about today. But we'll kind of delay it by about 10 minutes, maybe, if he's kind enough to do so, because this is a very important conversation. So please keep going, Utsada.
Okay. So far, again, for those who have just joined us, we have covered some of the speakers at the Dismantling Hindutva events being organized on September 11. Very Hinduphobic, anti-Hindu event. So far, we have covered some of the organizers, primarily Polis project, Suchitra Vijayan. You see Kavita Krishnan as one of the speakers, Suchitra Vijayan. We see the connection of Muhammad Junaid, another of the speakers, with Huma Dar, Hafsa Kanjwal, again connected with the troika of ISI stand with Kashmir. And then we look at Kavita Krishnan. So we have covered 3 or 4 of the speakers, and they're almost at 1 degree of separation connection with Pakistani establishment, pro-terrorist establishment. So far, we have covered that. Let's go to now the next one of the next speakers there, which is Nandini Sundar. Just like Kavita Krishnan is the spokesperson on behalf of the Maoists and the Kashmiri separatists, Nandini Sundar is an instigator. So she's a professor in Delhi University. In 2017, based on the information provided by a surrendered Maoist leader named Panda or Podium Pandu, that was his full name, Nandini Sundar, activist Bela Bhatia, she's actually in jail. Bela Bhatia was arrested too, met Maoist commanders. Naxal is the term that is used interchangeably with Maoists. And we can have it. I think we had a show on that 3 shows ago on left-wing extremism in India. So there we'd explain Maoists and...
So there is a, sorry to interrupt, there is a request that can you still make the content part a little bigger? If you can just shift the slide navigation a little bit, I think the content will be a little bigger for people to read. I think now it's kind of overflowing, but if you can just shift the slide, because I know that full screen is a little bit of a problem with the way we are doing it.
I opened this up online.
This is perfect. This is good.
Okay.
Keep going. So, I know there's a problem with Sudhirji. There's a bit of a problem with doing full screen, so you will
see that Nandini Sundar, one of the speakers, she was associated with instigating villagers in the rural areas of India not to support police forces and people who are trying to protect the villagers from Maoists. And she met with the top Maoist leaders, and they were involved in killing of 25 CRPF Jawans in Bastar district in 2019. So this is a 1-year-old report. So that's why you see Sukma last year, it says. So this report is from 2020. So here you see, again, this is a good example of an urban Naxal, Nandini Sundar. She didn't go to jail because she actually didn't kill anybody herself. So it's very hard to prove this, but she's an accessory. She provides legitimacy to the terrorists, especially the Maoists. She will go and meet them. She will provide them media interviews. She will give them a platform to present their case against India. And that's the role these people play usually. And that's why it's very hard to actually put them in jail for long periods of time, because they have that plausible deniability where I didn't pull the trigger, but hey, I did everything else around the person who pulled the trigger. So again, just to bring you perspective, in the last 20 years, more than 10,873 people have been killed by these Maoists that Kavita Krishnan and Nandini Sundar support. And no wonder, they get support from Stand with Kashmir, Ghulam Nabi Bhai and ISI, because what else does ISI want? So that I think is see Ajay by 8:41.
Yeah.
11:41.
So
I told you I'll
I
be
want
back by
I want
11:40.
to welcome our guest Robert Spencer. Robert, we are running just about 5 minutes behind schedule. If you are kind enough, first of all, you're really thank you for joining here, and we really appreciate it. If you don't mind, just hanging on for 5 minutes till we finish this topic, and we want to actually get your view on this topic as well, because this is the topic that you probably will relate to very quickly. In addition to Afghanistan, because these are the topics, as you'll see, are all connected. So thank you very, very much for joining. I'm Ajay Shah, by the way. I am the president of World Hindu Council of America. And you already know Utsav Chakrabarti. He is the executive director of Hindu PAC. It's one of our initiatives. And Utsav is just going through all the connections between various players who are who have lined up against us. So, and we're talking, Robert, just to fill you in, we are talking about a conference that is organized, ironically, on September 11th. And this is the conference called Dismantling Hindutva. It is appropriately, called Dismantling Hindu Dharma, or Dismantling Hinduism in America. So that is a conference that was just announced about 3 or 4 days ago.
Ajay,
And
when you
so
said
Utsav is,
appropriately, you are being sarcastic, I believe, right?
yeah, of course.
Because
I'm glad you caught that. So yeah, exactly. So we're talking about that, and we're trying to look at the people who are behind this, and these are actually the same people that you have expertise in talking about. So we'll just finish this in about next 5 minutes, and then get your view on it, and that way you'll get a little bit of background as to why this is important, and why your view on this is really important. So please continue, and see. I think you have a couple of more slides, and then I'll tell you what actions we are doing. So please continue quickly, and then we'll go to the next part. So we lost your sound for some reason. You're on mute. Uh, Still on mute.
my apologies. My apologies. I muted myself when you were speaking, Ajay bhai. Sorry.
Yeah,
Uh,
no problem.
so we
So if
we
you can,
recap. Yeah,
yeah,
please go ahead.
no, please continue.
So we recap some of the players here who are organizing the dismantle global Hindutva image, the event that is going to be held from September 10 to September 12. Irony, irony, and the players that you see here are primarily 1 degree of separation away from Pakistan's ISI, the pro-Islamist, pro-terrorist, pro-separatist stand with Kashmir, and the convicted ISI person, Ghulam Nabi Fai, who spent 2 years in a Maryland jail. And then we went through the list of people like Huma Dar, Hafsa Kanjwal, and Kavita Krishnan, and saw their direct link to pan-Islamist groups, in the case of Hafsa Kanjwal and Huma Dar, CARE, and the Islamist groups that operate against Hindus and non-Hindus in Jewish community in America. And we saw the links of Kavita Krishnan and Suchitra Vijayan and Nandini Sundar to Maoist terror groups. And Maoist terror groups, as we noted in the last half an hour, have been responsible for the death of more than 10,873 people in India. So we traveled this far. And just to go back and talk about the event that they're against. On September 11, they are going to do an event to deplatform and erase Hindutva in America. Hindutva, as defined by the Supreme Court of India, is understood to be is presentation of Hinduness, the identity of Hinduness in America. And mind you, these are 6 million American Hindus out there who all they are doing is just presenting themselves as Hindu. They are not trying to convert other people. They're not trying to blow things up. They're not trying to put the flag of Hindutva on any building or Capitol, as many other people want to do. All they're doing is just being Hindus, and that is a problem.
So that there's one more, and it should not be lost that the word Hindutva, and these organizers have always made the case that they're talking about Hindutva and not Hindu Dharma or Hinduism, and there's a distinction: one is political, one is spiritual, and all these kinds of things. What they don't understand, and or they do understand, but they don't want to tell people, is that the word Hindutva was first used in mid 1800s, and Hindutva means Hindu plus Tattva. That is, Tattva means essence. So Hindutva really means the essence of Hindu Dharma or essence of Hinduism. It is the essence of Hinduism as defined in mid 1800s. And what they're trying to say now is that, look, we are just attacking Hindutva, which is a political philosophy. What they are really doing, without revealing, is that they are attacking the essence of what it is to be a Hindu. And that is why this should be concerning. So we are running, just to conclude this part, we are running a camp. Our position is really simple. They picked September 11th because they want to divert the attention for the from the terrorism, the Islamic terrorism, and 25th anniversary of that Islamic terrorism this year. Correct? Is it 25th?
No. 20th.
Oh, sorry, 20th. Sorry, 20th anniversary of 9/11. Years pass by, but not that fast. So it's a 20th anniversary of 9/11, and they want to deflect the attention from Islamic terrorism, and they want to put the attention on a made-up, fabricated Hindutva or attack on Hindutva. That is the first thing. The second thing, Utsada, we think that we are putting, we are putting into attention this project, our project, which we are revealing this evening when we do the gala, called Chingari. This is the coalition for Hindu girls who are abducted and their rights. These are the girls in Sindh, Pakistan, who are, who are 12 years and 13-year-olds. They're abducted, they're snatched away from their parents. They are converted to Islam and forcibly married to men who are 40, 50, 60-year-old. 3 a day, 1,000 a year, every single year, as per the report from the Pakistani Human Rights Commission.
Correct.
Okay?
And mind you, these are not,
this,
while most of them are Hindu girls from Sindh, they do not spare Christians. Anybody who's a Christian.
Of course. There are the Christian girls and the other minority girls as well there.
Exactly.
So this is to deflect the attention from there. And so all I want to say is, I'll put this up on the screen. We are running a signature campaign. We started this to ask the universities to disavow this particular event. And we have over 2,500 signatures already. And we urge everyone who is watching this to go and put up the URL on the screen. Please go there. I'll put it in the chat. You can click on it. Go and sign this, because this is really the need of the hour. Utsada, we can stop the share now, and it's on to you. Please introduce our guests properly, do a proper job than I did. And once again, welcome, Robert, and I'll turn it over to Utsada, to Utsav Chakrabarti.
Well, it is, Robert Spencer is one of the tallest voices, if I must say, to put it that way, of bold and straightforward speak when it comes to radical Islamism in America. If there is anybody out there who has been there, done that on the public platform, exposing Islamists from all across the world, from the Middle East to Pakistan, to Afghanistan, to Malaysia, and to Europe and America nowadays even, he is the person to go to. I have followed him and seen his work over the last 20 years, literally since I came to America as a student. And, it is an honor and a pleasure to speak to Robert Spencer, who agreed to join actually on a very, very short notice. And I literally sent him out the link 2 hours ago. But, this is what happens when somebody has gathered so much wisdom, has so much enthusiasm and so much knowledge. Thank you so much, Robert, for joining us. Tell us about your experience. Tell us about your experience with pro-Islamist narrative building in American campuses and what you have gone through. The floor is yours.
Well, on American campuses, the students are thoroughly indoctrinated by this time into thinking that the problem is not jihad terrorism, the problem is not Sharia oppression of women or love jihad or anything of the kind. The problem is only Islamophobia. And so when I have spoken on college campuses, which doesn't really happen anymore because they're increasingly fascist and they're not interested in any kind of dissenting voices. But over the years, I've spoken at a large number of campuses all over the United States, and for the most part have been shouted down or canceled, or when I spoke was given a very hostile reception at best. Now, this is, of course, within the prerogatives of those who were attending, but it reflects the indoctrination that the students have been subjected to, such that they don't have any idea of the reality of jihad violence, and they don't have any idea of the devastation that it has wrought over 1,400 years all across the world, from Indonesia to India to Europe and Africa and so on. They don't have any idea of any of that. And meanwhile, they've been filled with nonsense about the fantasy of Islamophobia, which is supposedly some sort of irrational racism against Muslims. Now, of course, as we all know here, Islam is not a race, and Muslims are not of any particular single race, but actually there are Muslims and Islamic jihadis of all races. And so to say that it's a racist thing to oppose jihad violence is ridiculous on its face, but that's the primary concern of American academics today. And so if they can fit opposition to jihad violence into that box, then they can bamboozle students into thinking that there's something wrong with opposing jihad violence. So this is what they have done. They've done it very effectively. I have to give them credit for the thoroughness of the indoctrination that they have carried out, leftist academics, that is. But what they've done ultimately is a criminal act of disinformation and misinformation that has left a generation of American students thoroughly ignorant in regard to a very real 1,400-year international threat.
Absolutely, and thanks for putting it out this plainly. But you know, one thing that we have to ask ourselves: this is happening for the last 2 decades almost, and it has accelerated over the last couple of years, because you know, the more platforms they capture, the more places they take over, the more people are silenced, and it has literally, you know, irony is that this is happening at a time when over the last 20 years you have seen the rise of Al Qaeda, and you thought, okay, Al Qaeda is out there, hopefully people will see through this. They don't. Then you see the rise of Islamic State, ISIS. I wondered at that time, okay, you know, now I will be able to convince my friend, at least the name Islamic State is in it. Maybe they will see through this. It doesn't happen. So what do you think, Robert, is the way forward? Because, you know, I am providing, I mean, today's presentation, I gave evidence of people who are directly or through one degree of separation working and supporting terrorists. They're connected to convicted Pakistani spies. What will it take for the universities to understand? What will it take for us to have a platform and actually get a voice out there? What do you think?
The problem is that universities are fascist entities now. The fascists, the Nazi brown shirts, used to send their thugs around. They would go around to college campuses, and if a speaker was talking against the Nazis, they would shout him down, menace him physically, and so on. And the leftist students on college campuses are doing this today with the approval, in most cases, of the college administration or the university administration. So what we need to do is actually move to safeguard the freedom of speech on college campuses. And there have been some initiatives to ensure that not all the instruction on a single university campus is of one ideological stripe, but that other voices are allowed to be heard. This is going to have to be perhaps enforced as a matter of law, rather than simply requested from professors, because obviously they're not interested in airing opposing views. But the power of this fascist cabal that's in charge of American colleges and universities has to be broken, or we're not going to get anywhere. And they're going to continue to be indoctrination centers for the hard left. You're gone again.
So you're on mute again.
That is what we are saying. Thank you, guys, for pointing that. So I agree with you. I agree with you, Robert, because one of the things we are facing in the last couple of weeks as we tried to run a counter campaign against the Dismantle Hindutva event that is going to happen on September 11, all many of our people are asking is that, okay, let's also have a platform and share our point of view. Let us just explain what Hinduness is and let the students judge which side is actually telling the truth and which side represents what. That's all, just an equal platform. And many of these colleges are refusing to give that platform. But we have to agree, though, Ajay Bhai, as Ajay Bhai pointed out in the beginning of the show, six universities did withdraw their names once they were approached. And I believe in some of the cases, they didn't even know that their logo was being actually put on by these organizers, because these organizers have not faced any challenge in the past. They literally do whatever they want. There could be one professor in some university who is sympathetic to them or is a friend of theirs, and he just goes ahead and slaps the logo of that entire university because they know they will not face any repercussion. And that's the level of go ahead.
To your point, actually, University of Toronto actually said that, well, we are just having a debate, and so this is not to be, it's an academic institution, and we're just having a debate. Well, where is the other side in the debate? You cannot have 20 people speaking from one side and call it a debate. That's an assault. That's not a debate.
Nobody from the other side. Nobody from the other side.
Absolutely no one from the other side. That's why I said that it's an academic assault on Hindu Dharma. It's not a debate. There's no debate there when you have only one side. And I'm sure that this is happening to anyone who has dared to speak up on campuses. And all the conversation is one-sided. And
not just that, the University of Stockton and the University of Toronto, 1,000 miles apart, somehow send back the same email in response. Imagine that.
Yeah.
And there are people on social media who put out both the emails, screenshots of both the emails. How is that possible? Imagine that.
That's the toolkit activism.
Yes, exactly. They have the same people writing the emails on their behalf. Coming back to you, Robert, tell us about you have been at every level of outreach, not just campuses, but you have been speaking to lawmakers. You have been out there at every level of activism. You also have faced threat from many of these Islamists. So tell us about the threats you have received and who are the people who threaten you, which are the entities that have gone out against you so aggressively. And when I say entities, means organizations that have targeted you. Tell us more about that.
Well, I suppose the primary organization is not an Islamic organization at all, but a leftist one, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which started out fighting racism in the southern United States, and having largely defeated that, widened its scope to target, demonize, marginalize, and silence by defamation really any group that opposed to the far left agenda. And so it's a shame, because originally they were doing some good work, but they've left that behind long ago. Unfortunately, not many people are aware of this and still think it's a reputable organization. So they list groups like my organization, Jihad Watch, and me personally as hate group leaders. And there are many others also who are listed in this way. And the objective, of course, is to destroy us and make it impossible for us to work. Now, the thing is, if you were to go to Google and search for my name, the very first thing that will come up is the Southern Poverty Law Center's dossier, which is just a long tissue of smears and defamation, half-truths, distortions, outright lies, and so on. This is a very powerful and wealthy group. It has hundreds of millions of dollars. So whenever I've approached attorneys to try to sue them, they say, well, they have so much money, they'll be able to just drive us out of business with various legal actions that they can manipulate by means of having all this money. So it's a very powerful and insidious group that targets not just me, but many others who are calling attention to jihad violence. There's also, of course, the Council on American-Islamic Relations, which is another very wealthy group tied to the Muslim Brotherhood that also traffics in smears and defamation. And they have a very great amount of influence in the US government, which is something that the implications could be explored for hours. But that's another very dangerous group. And there are many others over the years. I've been doing this so long. Pretty much any group that you can name that is in favor of enabling jihad violence and fighting so-called Islamophobia, it has something that it is said to attack me. These things, we can't be deterred by them. It's just a matter of continuing to tell the truth and knowing that the truth will ultimately be victorious.
Absolutely true. And you know, as much as the extreme left in these campuses, and as well as some of the Islamists, pretend to be the victim, you know, they take ownership of the victimhood narrative. You know, if people really look, you know, from a new position of neutrality at who are actually the underdogs in this struggle, it's very easy to see who the underdogs are. And a lot of credit goes to you, Robert, for standing up for the voices of people who are victims of radical Islamism around the world. And that takes a lot of courage, that takes a lot of effort. So, you know, Robert, going forward, do you see any hope from, you know, the people who we are up against are singularly targeting us, but those of us who are against them, those of who are trying to move forward as civilizations, as people, are actually far more diverse. I mean, you come from a completely different socio-political, economic, and you know, ethnic, religious background than me and or somebody else, and we are all railed, we are all lined up against a threat that wants to extinguish us. So our side actually has far more diversity across any criteria of diversity measurement than what the other side proclaims to be having. So what do you think, Robert, we should do as individuals, as groups, as religious organizations, as social organizations? What is the way forward?
Well, we do need a counter-jihad coalition, an international one, that includes people from India, people from every place where jihadis are active, and understand that as Hindus, as Christians, as atheists, Jews, whatever, we all share this common foe that wants to conquer and subjugate us. And consequently, to work together is only common sense. This is something that I've hoped to put together actually all these years. When I started Jihad Watch, my website, jihadwatch.org, in 2003, I was the first one, the only one, reporting on jihad activity, not just in the United States, but in India, in Africa, in Israel, and showing that it's all the same ideology that we're all facing. And of course, it's always been something that I've wanted to see, that on the basis of this, people would begin to band together, begin to work together. And it has happened to some degree. Back in the days when we had rallies in New York City and elsewhere, there was an Indian group that would always attend, and a Hindu group, that is, and others, Sikhs and various other groups, Yazidis. And it was the beginnings, I think, of this kind of coalition that we need. But this is one of the reasons why the people who are in power have come down so hard upon us. And I think that that's something that threatens them a great deal. And so that's one of the reasons why they made it impossible for us to continue to have the rallies and to continue to meet together. I can tell you, the last time we had a rally in New York City, I could barely get to it myself, and I was the co-organizer because the streets were all blocked off and there were cops everywhere and they weren't letting anybody in. And ultimately they made it impossible for us to continue. But we have to find other ways and build these coalitions nonetheless.
Absolutely. I you know, when I look at what's happening in Africa, we have American groups rightfully speaking up against slavery and talking about historical impact of slavery in America, and then you hear slaves being actually sold by Islamic State and their proxies in Libya, in Sudan right now as we speak. That is actual slavery happening right now, where Black people are kidnapped, put in chains, and sold. And until the 1960s, the city of Makkah had a slave market. It was actually stopped in the 1960s. The holiest place for more than half the people in the world. So who is going to talk about it? And why are these campuses that are hosting events to dismantle Hindutva not talking about it? Like, one of the questions that we are asking many of these organizers, coming back to the event that we are trying to expose, they never talk about what's happening in China, and they're never going to talk about what China has done in Tibet. They're never going to talk about what the Taliban is doing in Afghanistan and what the Taliban did in the 1990s. And
you know why they're not? You know why they're not, Utsav? Because Qatar pays the millions of dollars.
That's true.
And Saudi Arabia Prince Al-Walid bin Talal paid millions of dollars to various universities in the United States. Qatar still does. Other entities, the Turks are moving in and building mosques and dealing with academic institutions as well. These people, look, on the one hand, say that you're Harvard University, and on the one hand, you've got Qatar giving you $20 million, and you've got Utsav Chakrabarti saying you should be talking about the plight of the Hindus, but you don't have $10 million, $20 million to give them. So who are they going to obey? And this is unfortunately what's happened on university campuses all over the country. And it's only a financial consideration.
That is very true. And since you brought up Turkey, the people I was mentioning in my slides, Hafsa Kanjwal, Huma Dar, and Ghulam Nabi Fai, all three of them after 2018 got visiting professor positions in Turkish universities.
There you go.
And
Fai was convicted for concealing $3.5 million he got from the ISI to lobby against Hindus in the United States.
Absolutely.
And so he was convicted under the Foreign Agent Registration Act because he wasn't registered as a foreign lobbyist, but that's what he was acting as. And so he had $3.5 million at his disposal. I don't have $3.5 million, and I would expect you don't either. So it's not a fair fight.
It is true. It is true. And that, my friends, those of us who are listening to us, this is the reality that we are dealing with here. The people who are targeting Hindus, the people who are targeting Americans who care about freedom, who care about freedom of religion, who care about freedom of religious practices, who care about human rights for everybody, men, women, LGBTQ people, everybody. We are the underdogs at this point right now. And that is the saddest reality. Keep that reality in perspective when you sign a letter, when you oppose the Dismantling Hindutva event in the American campuses that is happening on September 11. Ajay bhai, do you have questions for Robert?
No, I think you've covered it all. I think it was a fascinating discussion, and thank you, Robert, for joining us. I think this has been really eye-opening for me and for a lot of people who have joined us, because I have obviously followed your work on Jihad Watch, and so have other people. But I think there are a lot of people who joined us today who will watch us on other channels that we have distribution partners, several of them. So they will carry this program after editing and all that over the next week or two. And I think when they watch this, they will find it fascinating. So we really want to thank you for bringing this important topic to our audience. This is absolutely something that all of us who believe in peace and plurality and all the other things, we should actually come together and look at these issues holistically and take it to the public, because I think there are as much as we are aware of these things and we live these issues because we read about it every day and we analyze it every day, for vast majority of the people, they don't even know what is happening. So I think there's a lot of things we need to do in terms of raising the awareness of some of these issues. I think that and let's find a way where people who are against jihad and who are for peaceful living all kind of get together and understand the challenges and formulate the response to the challenges.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Thank you,
gentlemen. Nice talking to you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
and thanks for taking the time out on such a short notice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a
Absolutely.
wonderful day.
Yeah,
You too.
you too. Thank you. So as we close out, I think I want to go back to I want to go back to the topic of the day, but I want to tell people that we still have the signature campaign that is going on. And Utsoda, while I'm talking, if you can just paste in the captions, if you can paste the URL and the chat, just put it on chat. That way it becomes a clickable link, so people can go and click on the link and sign the petition. We are not sending. So this is a part that I want everyone to note. We are collecting all the signatures, and then we'll create a package and send the package out to all the 60 universities that are sponsoring the event. Okay, so we are going to wait till we have substantial number of signatures. Individually, we are reaching out to universities. We are tweeting the universities, and to asking them that they do not sponsor this event. They withdraw from the sponsorship of this event. They disavow their participation in this event. I want to go back and talk one more time about what we said earlier, Utsada, that today is the Hindu PAC Gala. It takes place at 7 o'clock Eastern, and we have the registration link that we posted. I'm going to post the registration link one more time. I would urge everyone to go and participate and sign up for the gala. So this is the link. Go to indiapetitions.com. Just go to indiapetitions.com, click on the link, and just indiapetitions.com. Click on the link for universities, request universities to prevent targeting of Hindus in the pretext of Hindutva. Click on that, and you will be able to sign the petition. 7 o'clock gala. Go ahead, Utsada.
I was just going to say that I just posted it on the chat. You can see it under the screen here. The link is directly posted. Please go and sign, because we want to collect as many signatures as possible and send them all at once to the universities that are still planning to host this. Others have sent individual emails to the universities as the signed signatures have been happening, and some of them have been blocked. So what we are going to do through the India petition signature that you already see there on the link, we have more than 2,500 signatures in there already in just 3 days. We will put together all the signatures and send them to the universities at once. So it's important that we have more and more signatories. It is important that universities that are still planning to host this event know what the Hindu community is concerned about, and don't legitimize this hatred against the Hindu community on September 11. That's the challenge we are up against. And please go and sign. Thank you.
So we were going to close this out, but Lalit Sethiji has just joined. So I want to give him, Lalitji, I'll give you a minute. But before I do that, we have a regular segments. Today we are going to skip most of the regular segments because we'll be covering them in this gala. And Utsada, this gala is today. I want to tell everyone that please join the gala. This is an important event for Hindu PAC. We have many guests. Let me make it a little bigger so people can read this. There you go. And we are going to talk. Utsada, let me
Okay.
get Lalit Setiji online. Lalitji, we are almost at the end of the program, but I want to give you an opportunity to say a couple of words. I just to let everyone know, I'll bring Lalitji online. So we just to recap for people who have joined, and I see there must be another event that ended. So all of a sudden we have another 20 people who just joined, or more actually, because these numbers are multiplicative. We don't get from Twitter and other numbers we don't get live. But we Utsoda did a really great job in analyzing some of the key participants who are organizing Dismantle Hindutva event, Global Hindutva event. He traced the connection between the Islamists who are aligned with Pakistani's ISI and the Maoist Naxalites, the urban Naxalites who are leading the leftist terrorist movement in India. And he went through each name and he described their connections. We relied heavily on the Disinfo Lab information, and we also put out a call to action, which is on the screen. We are going to each and every university, and we are asking every university to withdraw the sponsorship of this event and disavow this event explicitly. So, but we will. This video will be available. This playback of this will be available on demand on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook channel. You got to check it out. Everyone has to check it out because there's a substantial amount of research that went into describing the connections between these forces who are aligned against us as Hindus on college campuses. Remember, they are using the word Hindutva, but the real target, as one of the tweets said, was Hindus. And now they are talking about weaponizing Diwali against Hindus. So now put up that screen and we'll give Lalitji an opportunity to talk. Lalitji, if you're still online, please go ahead.
Yeah. Namaste, everyone. Lalit City
Namaste.
joined. Sorry, I got this link recently, just a few minutes back, and I joined. I was not aware this is happening, but glad to see that it's really happening. So I just see that I'm from Michigan, and we had yesterday our call. I'm added to two more other groups. I was not aware of this event taking place this morning. It was called out under a different name, so I was maybe confused. But what for sure what we need to do, and I'm asking all the groups, let's unite those efforts. We cannot operate isolated, each different group with different leaders. We need to unite, we need to collaborate, we need to come together, because a cause is such of dimension where we cannot afford to just operate isolated kind of in small groups. So we discussed yesterday, we need to create one central location of all the information that we can use and spread among our kind of community. I'm from Michigan, so I would like to share those petitions that you just shared the link, all the other documents, the template, the emails. If we can put it together central, please send me the link so we can share it further, and we kind of support each other in this effort. In each one of us has its own kind of let's say, lot of followers or lot of participants who are interested, they want to be part of it. We make sure that this information is shared, and this is a collective effort going forward. That's all my request here.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so much,
Lalitji. Thank you
Lalitji.
for joining, and thank you for all the hard work that you've been doing.
And Lalitji, just to address the point you made, a very, very valid point. We at Hindu PAC, along with other groups, HAF, Kona, and all the other groups there is interaction, there is communication at our end, and we all work together. We have been, our members have been promoting emails from all these groups, and vice versa. I'm sure that is also happening. So this is important. We do have interaction going on. I think it is extremely important that we reach out to our supporters, the people who we have influence over. There will be some individual work also, because not everybody is on the same ideological platform, and that is a good thing. Somebody in one organization may have more connection to a certain spectrum in the ideological thought process of America. Another organization may have more influence in another spectrum. But as long as we are working together in addressing hatred against Hindus, because at the end of the day, all Hindus pay for this.
And Utsada, let me just say this, okay? We are Lalitji and Utsada, to your point, right? we don't have we absolutely have, I think, we absolutely have the same end goal in mind, all the organizations. There are differences in the way we approach the issues. There are differences in the way a lot of people have different ideological bend. So some people may be a little more on the left, some may be on the right, but we are all eventually working towards the same goal. Now, that means that we support each other's effort. Doesn't mean that we come together as a committee and we decide what is the next step, who is going to take. There is value in it. You can look at it in multiple ways. I want to emphasize that none of us is working against each other. We all have the same end goal in mind. We do not have to be all in the same one big committee making a decision. And there is a lot of good work is going on. uh, we are absolutely supportive of all other Hindu organizations in whatever capacity they are working, whether they're individuals, they're mandirs, they're Hindu organizations that are based on say profession, or they're based on regions or language, or they're based on their Hindu philosophy. We support all of them, and we want all of them to thrive,
Right.
and we want all of them to succeed, because all of us have the same end goal, and that is to preserve and protect Hindu Dharma in America.
Right. So
Okay.
with collaborative effort, what I meant was, utilizing, sharing the resources. Maybe we in Michigan are the best one to reach out to UFM. We can do a lot. Our Michiganders are employee of UFM. They are students and families and so on. So we might have some resources that we can offer. Hey, this is what we can do. And maybe other organizations have different resources. You like this, I don't want to reinvent the wheel, each and every group kind of creating the kind of different petition or different email, different template. If we have a legal team, let's use that. I was reached out for by few, hey, could you have or this kind of legal advisor or the attorney or lawyer. So let's put together, this is a collaborative effort, is sharing the resources and information. This is what I meant,
Sure.
the network that
Absolutely.
each one of us has. The tools we have is a different, but we can share what makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You're
Thank you.
absolutely
Thank you,
right,
Lalitji.
Lalitji.
Uh, so with that, thank you, Lalitji. Thanks for joining. Please join again. So that we are at the end of our program today. We are not doing only segment I would do today is the Hindu Seva Charity Act of the Week. Today is our gala. We are trying to raise funds to continue our advocacy activities. Please go to hindupac.org, click on the donate button, and donate to Hindu PAC. That is our Seva Charity Act of the Week. With that end, absolutely please go and sign our petition online. With that, I want to thank everyone for joining today, and please do
And
remember.
remember to join our gala at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You will have 2 hours of a good event that will express what we stand for. You'll get to know about our projects. A lot has gone into the preparation for the gala. A lot has gone into the work that we have done in the last 1 year. So join us, see what we do. This is not enough. We need to do way, way, way more, as you can see, based on what's happening in our campuses. So going forward, Ajay.
So that if you can stop your share, what I'll do is I'll put up the screen and I'll play this very special music once again, created by our friends at Decibel. Or maybe you can just put up the screen and I'll start the music. Either way is fine. But we don't want to miss out on this music because, as you know, Decibel. I can do the screen share. Decibel puts a lot of effort into creating a very special tune for us every single week. It is just amazing the amount of work that they put in. So that I'll turn my video off. Thank you everyone for joining. This is Hindu Lounge. Hindu Lounge comes live every Sunday at 11 Eastern. That's 8 Pacific on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, and we come delayed on demand on various other platforms. With that, I'm with Utsav Chakrabarti, who is the executive director for Hindu PAC. I'm Ajay Shah. I'm the president of the World Hindu Council of America, and here we are playing the music, fascinating music by Decibel, created just for this show. you.